What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today we're going to have the game preview for the Lions. Okay, massive game coming up against what I think is the best team in the NFL. And can we compete in this game? Can we come away with the upset in this game? I think it's entirely possible, but of course it's going to be a challenge. Okay, so walking through the injuries so far, and I am recording this before the Friday injury report comes out, but I feel like we have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. Both teams, despite who they have on the IR, both teams fairly healthy. And when you look at the Lions, they have one limited participant, and then everybody else is full participant. They have Tyrion Arnold, Carlton Davis, Sam Laporta, Emmanuel Mosley, who's been on the IR, but looks like he is going to be making his way back, which is going to be huge for their secondary. And their secondary's been pretty good anyways. Was just looking at their depth chart and refreshed myself on exactly who they have between draft and free agency. They've done a really good job over there in Detroit building that team. And then Shane Zylstra, the tight end, is the last guy on there. So some big names, but again, all practicing. And then when you look at the Colts here, they have one did not practice. Everybody else is at practice. So you have Bernard Raymond not practicing so far this week. Sounds like another week without Bernie due to a knee injury. Braden Smith back at practice with a foot injury. Tyquan Lewis at practice with an elbow injury. Michael Pittman Jr. with the back, but he's been a full participant all week. Josh Downs, full participant Thursday. Kenny Moore, full participant on Thursday as well. They have a calf and a knee injury. They just popped up on the injury report on Thursday. There was a walkthrough on Wednesday, so they didn't have to pop up on the injury report, right? It was an estimation of what their activity would have been. So they didn't pop up there, but having to report whatever they need to report. Josh Downs, a calf, Kenny Moore with a knee, but both full participants at practice. So looks like for the most part, again, both teams coming into this fairly healthy and both teams with a lot to play for. The Lions, I feel like at this point have a pretty good grasp on their division, but the NFC at the top, I mean, they got some competition. They got to be able to keep that lead. And also when it comes, well, I guess for Super Bowl's neutral site. So I don't know if it really matters so much whether you're home or away for the Super Bowl, but they are competing at least with the Chiefs for the best record in the NFL. They are still 9-1. Chiefs are now 9-1. So the Lions, again, have a lot to play for to stay at the top of that conference and to be able to get that first round bye as the playoffs approach. And then for the Colts, trying to get into the playoffs, trying to stay in the race for the division. And of course, at this point, the division's a long shot. Texans opened the window a little bit, but we missed our opportunity by losing a couple games in a row. So, division really out of the picture at this point unless Houston absolutely collapses, which I don't see happening. So we're really competing for the 7th seed. When you look at the other teams that are in the wild card picture, of course the Ravens could slip, right? There are weeks where the Ravens look unstoppable, and then there are weeks where the Ravens look very gettable. So they could slip up. But we are competing with 3 or 4 other teams for that 7th seed, essentially, with the way things look like they're going to go. So, Colts playing for their playoff lives. And now that we have Anthony back, Anthony looking the way he did after the 2-week stint of being a backup to Joe Flacco and everything that's come with that, I feel a lot better about us going into this game, right? If Anthony had never taken any time off, right, and like nothing had really changed for Anthony over the last couple weeks, then I would think we're going to sit here and lose 52-6. I think that would be entirely possible, and I think it is entirely possible. The Lions are a really good football team, but I do expect us to be more competitive in this game. Now, things are going to be difficult. When I sit here and I look at the Lions, right, their defense has been the thing that's really held them back for a while now, even dating back to Matthew Stafford's years. Their defense was always just so trash. And now, I mean, they just traded, obviously, for Zadarius Smith, one of the better pass rushers in the NFL, after Aiden Hutchinson goes goes down. And in the middle, this is why it's so hard to run on the lines. They have Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader, and at the linebacker level, they have Jack Campbell, who they drafted out of Iowa. What was that, last year, I believe, maybe the year before, but nonetheless, a really good defense they've assembled just in the front, and then in the back, they went out and got Carlton Davis and Kirby Joseph in free agency. They drafted Brian Branch and Tyrion Arnold. Like, they've put together a good team, and obviously, again, getting Emmanuel Mosley back in the slot. Who knows? Will he play this week? Will he not? That's been the one spot. I did see something on Twitter. It was about Josh Downs, and not only his slot production that we looked at a couple days ago in the video, specifically looked at his slot production, which is 39 catches, 471 yards, and 24 first downs out of the slot. And when you look at the Lions, Detroit ranks 32nd in receiving yards allowed to slot receivers this season. And because Downs is 4th among wide receivers in yards out of the slot, I mean, it just lines up where we can take advantage of, right? They have Amik Robertson in the slot. If Emmanuel Mosley isn't able to get back in the lineup this week, we could see another big game from Josh Downs. But of course, the rest of the offense has to be able to perform. So how are we going to do that, right? Are we going to run away from Zadarius Smith the entire game, right? Just trying to run on the ends, but go on the end where Zadarius Smith isn't, right? Because you have Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader on the inside. And that's where things get difficult in the pass game, because we've seen Tanner Bortolini. He's been doing well. Matt Gonsalves, good chance he does another game at left tackle. But Dalton Tucker, he's had different times or different games where he looked good, but especially last game, that Jets front tore him up. I think he had a 16.6 passing grade, pass blocking grade. So overall, I mean, the offensive line compared to especially the Detroit Lions defensive line, I mean, the experience level is night and day. Huge difference from one offensive line to the other, right? We're going in with 3 rookies on the offensive line, and these guys, they have 3 players that have been in the league for at least 6 years, right? I don't know everything about Aleem McNeil. I know he's really good on the inside. Don't know how long he's been in the NFL, to be completely honest with you, but nonetheless, the Lions going to pose problems for us up front, right? And that's usually where you win games. Now, we are playing indoors, so the weather not going to matter. I know it is snowing up north, which is tough. I know some people like it. That's tough. But they're not going to have to worry about the elements. They're playing indoors. So it's really about just playing ball, right? And getting it however you can get it. Of course, from our side, we need Anthony to continue what he did last game, right? And of course, we know it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be. Not every game is going to be incredible. But just to take what the defense is going to give you, make the right decisions, right? Whether it's passing the ball or whether that means you're keeping it or you're giving it to Jonathan Taylor. None of those fumbles. He did, say in his press conference that the handoff that turned into a fumble, he was looking at the wrong end. He was saying in that option he looked the wrong way, and so there was just a miscommunication because he wasn't looking in the right spot. So overall, he knows what he did wrong. He knows what he needs to fix, and that's really what you want to see, right? He's still essentially a rookie, so just continuing to get better, and that's what you want to see here is progress. And of course, when it comes down to the fourth quarter, we talked about his fourth quarter and the stats from the fourth quarter, how good it's been, like outrageously good. His fourth quarter stats are between last season and this season, I mean, crazy. So if you get into the fourth quarter and we keep it close, then I think there's a chance we can win this game. And I think we can keep it close, right? The defense has gotten much better. It's certainly not perfect, but the defense has gotten much, much better. So going forward, going to be I'm very interested to see how we're able to perform when you look at, Jared Goff and how he's been playing and being as efficient as he's been. And then having David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of the backfield, two different types of backs, but two guys that can both be explosive and make explosive plays. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, they traded for Tim Patrick. They got Khalif Raymond as depth. Allen Robinson, I can't even believe he's still playing in the NFL, and he's the Detroit Lions' fifth receiver. Sam Laporta, obviously, and then their offensive line is incredible. So defensively, they're going to have their hands full all day long. There really isn't a weakness on the Lions offense here. Their offensive line has gotten healthy. They're offensively very healthy and very tough to stop. Obviously, Ben Johnson, one of the best play callers in the NFL. But hey, I still believe we have one of the best play callers, and he had one of his best games of the season last week, and that's what we need to continue. Shane, as a second-year head coach, while still being a play caller, right, figuring it out, seems to have gotten the guys on the right path. We're doing the right things. We're putting the work in, the preparation's right. As long as we prepare the right way, we can come in and win this game. Okay, and then that's the question, right? Can we and will we actually win this game? Is it possible for us to actually come in and be able to win this game against the Lions? 9-1 Lions. We're at 5-6. We need a win in the worst way to be able to keep up in this fight for the wild card situation. And I don't know if we can get it done with what we've seen, with what we've put on film through this year. The consistency offensively, consistency on defense, it's not there. And that's what worries me, is because the Lions at 9-1, very consistent in beating teams down. They're scoring like 33 points a game. And so for the Colts, generally we're good at, we will give up yards, but find a way to keep points off the board. But of course, that's not always the case, right? If you're letting people in the field goal position, all it takes is another first down or two, right? Some not perfect defense, and all of a sudden, boom, team is scoring a touchdown, right? That's the risk you play when you play bend don't break defense instead of just being aggressive and living with what might happen. So for us, man, it's of all the matchups to have, man, I don't know if this is a good one for us. Now, the Lions traditionally not great against running quarterbacks, so maybe Anthony can open things up. Maybe Anthony can find ways to put the team on his back like he did last week, right? Scoring 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. If he can come in and if he can do that again for us, right, be able to put the team on his back, then I think there's a chance. But in my opinion, and listen, I took over on this channel last year, in training camp. So from last year, 17 games, this year, 11 games, right? Of the 28 games I've called, the 28 game previews I've done, no matter what it's looked like, I'm almost certain I've picked the Colts 28 times. But I can't do it against the Lions. The Lions are the team I think is going to go win the Super Bowl. Now, of course, I do think there's a way for the Colts to get it done. And I do think that this Colts team, with a renewed focus, everybody got each other's back. It's us against the world mentality in that locker room. Like, actually, that's from Zaire Franklin's podcast, right? The Trenches Show with Zaire and EJ Speed. The way everything sounds, they're in a very, the outside noise is going to be what the outside noise is, and they could come in and shock the world. I hope they do. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we come in and see the preparation once again pay off, and we're able to shock the world and move to 6-6. That would be incredible. I just don't know if we can do it. We haven't proven that we can be consistent. I need to see Anthony do it against a team that not named the Jets. Right? You want to see him do it now. Again, we're going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL, one of the best teams in the NFL, one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL we're going up against. So, again, it's not going to be perfect. Just want to see progress, and I have to see it again before I can believe in it week in and week out. It's just what we've come to. Okay, going up again, the rest of the schedule, I feel really good about. This is the game that I just don't know if we have the horses. No pun intended. I just don't know if we have the horses for this one. And at the end of the day, again, I do think at the end of the game we can make it close, right? Like I could see this one being like a 34-27 type game, but I do think the Lions are able to just put up points on us, and we're not going to be able to keep up. But I do think there we'll see us put up points. I do think the offense at different times, just like every other game, at different times we'll be able to move the ball like it's nothing. But I just think against a team like the Lions, we've seen too often with the offense this year where there's just going to be times where it's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and all of a sudden we're out of the game. So that's just, again, the Lions are a wrecking ball right now. We're not consistent. So those are my thoughts on the game. Of course, I'd love to know how you guys feel about the game and what could possibly happen. And what is your prediction for the game? Let me know in the comment section. And of course, make sure to subscribe with notifications on so you continue to get notified anytime we have any more content dropping on this channel. Going to be live for the game on Sunday. So have those notifications on. Come drop by, say what's up, hang out for a little while. And of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.